What up everyone, it's your man XMan87 here, bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is the Marvel Legends Iron Man Retro Wave reviews of Iron Man Model 1 Gold, Model 9, and Model 20, technically 24, but I'll touch on that later. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Now with that said, let's go! Alright, Iron Man Model 1 version 2, first appearing in Tales of Suspense issue number 40, right after his first appearance, sporting a dark metal gray in Tales of Suspense issue number 39. So, in order to make the armor less frightening to the general public, Stark created a gold-colored version with a wide array of improvements over the original, and that's pretty much all you gotta know about this suit of armor. So right off the bat, I gotta say that I'm not a fan of the way this came out completely. Just because last year's Model 1 I meant. See, man, the MCU got me screwed up. Before I used to say model, and MCU got me used to saying Mark. It's just like with the Infinity Stones, I used to say gems, and yeah, whatever. You guys know what I mean. But what I want to say is that at least this version was consistent with the colors all throughout. Yeah, I wasn't happy that they didn't paint it all metallic silver, but at least the colors were consistent for the most part. This one, it's like they got most of what I wanted, which is the metallic paint, right? They actually painted the arms and the legs and the head metallic gold. Actually, the head is not metallic gold. It's plastic. So, plastic torso, plastic skirt piece with just a little bit of paint here. And it just throws the look completely off because, you know, you get these shiny limbs and then that is just so dull. It's like, what the hell? He looks like freaking mustard caca. I just don't like that. I wish it was painted in an all metallic gold. Just how I wish this was painted in an all metallic silver. But at least they kept it consistent throughout. I just gotta, you know, point out my disappointment here. The only difference besides the colors is that they added a skirt piece for him, which is, you know, comic accurate. Taking a closer look at the helmet, you can see a lot of plastic swirling cracks on there, and I hate that. I know some of y'all like that, but I can't stand it, man. I will say, I do like what they did with the eyes here. They actually painted the eyes, whereas this one was blacked out. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty neat. And you look at the torso, comparing it to the limbs, look how solid the limbs look with the nice metallic gold paint. And then you look at the torso, you see all these swirls around it and through it. It's like you could see right through the figure. Like, it's just not how I picture an Iron Man armor to look like, you know? It just doesn't look good. It looks ugly. It just kills the design of the torso altogether. And, man, I do like that they gave him the ball rocker at the waist. It's so fitting for this style. But, you know, you get some nice gold paint in there. It's not enough to make up for the rest of the torso. But, like, the back is just plain. You know, they didn't paint the lines on here or anything. I mean, they painted some of the lines. Got some lines through the knee pads and the forearms there. But for some reason, they completely left the back out. Hasbro doing Hasbro, and yeah, I don't know what else I could say about this figure. If you've seen the first one, I didn't review the first one, but if you've seen the first one, you already know how this works, just in a different color. But again, in execution, it just comes up short. At least this one, yeah, see, it still had that swirly crap around the torso, and I didn't like it. They did add some additional paint with like some battle damage scars on there, some battle damage markings, which, you know, gave the figure an additional pop. I did like that. The rest, he has that nice chunky clunky build, which I like in the Model 1. I was about to say Mark 1 again. Wow. And then, yeah, he got the porch right there, the feet. Now for accessories, he has an alternate old school Tony Stark head, which is reused from the 20th anniversary Toy Biz figure. Only difference is this one had the blue highlights on the hair. No blue highlights on this one, which is fine with me. It's not overdone. This one was definitely overdone. At this point, just might as well paint the whole damn hair blue. Just have blue hair. And then he has the open pair of hands right here. Then lastly, he has the boot thrusters and those thick trolling smoke effects, which I'm not tired of seeing yet. It always looks cool combined with the thrust effects. So I'm not going to cover articulation fully. For those of you that saw reviews of the first version, you already know what to expect with this guy. So the only noteworthy thing to point out is the leg articulation because of the skirt piece. So it doesn't hinder the legs moving outward, which is good. However, kicking forward, it does hold back the kick just a bit. As you can see, you get more range with the first one. Not by much, but I noticed the difference. And then moving back, it's not going to hinder anything. So that's all you need to know in articulation. Just like the last version, I'm in love with the sculpt. It's nicely articulated and is painted for the most part. But when the torso, which is the core of the figure's frame, where it grabs the most attention to the eyes, when that does not follow up with not being fully painted, it's a problem. Doesn't matter if it's up close or far away, it's noticeable and dulls down the entire look of the figure. I'm rating Model 1 Gold a 6 out of 10. Alright, we're looking at one of my favorite Iron Man default armors, and it is Model 9, which first appeared in Iron Man Volume 1, issue number 231. And the first version actually had thinner gloves and thinner boots. What we're looking at is Model 9 version 2, which has the chunkier gloves and the boots. As you could tell, he has these coffee pot looking boots. And yeah, it went through some minor cosmetic changes so that he can add more thrust power for his coffee pot boots. It was also the first armor to incorporate a beta particle generator, radically reducing Iron Man's external power needs and boosting his already formidable might. Which is another reason why he used this armor to go up against Fin Fang Foom for the first time. So, wink wink, Fin Fang Foom has lab confirmed. I'm just playing. Or am I? I think they nailed the helmet here, man. It looks really, really good. I like the entire sculpt. It just came out really nice. Even with his faceplate right there. It just looks good. The yellow there has a nice shimmer. But then you get to the plastic parts of the red armor and, oh man, dude, again, why? What is it with these swirls? They're getting worse. Awful, man. Just god-awful. I could see right through the damn plastic. What is up with them not painting Iron Man in metallic red? Jesus, just paint it. He's worth it. He's freaking Iron Man. Like, he's worth the paint. And then they make it look cheap like this. It's just not a good look at all. Like, it's just worse here. Look at all these cracks. Like, what the hell is this, man? It just doesn't make this guy look like Iron Man. It just makes him look like fucking shampoo bottle, man. It is bad. It's bad. The power node right here, they got wrong. It's blue. It's supposed to be yellow. It was never blue. So I don't know why they got that wrong here. And you can see they added some, like, glare details right there. So, I mean, that looks nice, but it's the wrong color. But look how awful it looks between this color on the shoulder pauldrons to the chest right there. Just does not look good at all. And they painted the yellow here. You know, I just don't get it. The trunks here, the crotch piece is fine. I wish they added the cartridges on the hips. He had that sometimes, and I do like that look, but it doesn't matter if they added it or not. That was just my preference. Give them a little bit more of some design. And here are the gloves. You know, they painted the lines. And that's the only thing they painted other than the yellow on the torso. But, man, they could have freaking painted the red. It would have looked so much better in metallic red. So much better. Man, I would have fell in love with this figure. Like, it feels good in hand. Like, the way they sculpted the figure, it feels good in hand. I like the feel of the design. But Jesus, they need to paint their freaking Iron Mans. That's why they always look so cheap. And it's a shame because they make really good Iron Man figures, but most of them look cheap, with only some looking really good. There is a problem with the arms on this Model 9 because I try to pose them in vanilla because I'm going to have them in my Hall of Armor display. They're all going to stand like that. And for some reason, the arms do not pose straight down. As you can see, they look like they are, you know, a little bit forward. And if I try to get them straight down to the hips, what happens is it just springs forward. You see that? It's not going to stay at the waistline. It's just going to move a little bit forward. I need it like right here. And it's not. It just keeps springing forward. Same thing with this arm. It just springs forward. You see that? It doesn't stay still. So, yeah. I mean, this is the best I'm going to get, which is not too bad. I'm not saying it's bad at all. But there is a flaw in that design for when it comes to that ratcheting socket. He's got that 90s toy spring action punch going on. Pwah, pwah, pwah. He's got pinless arms, but got pins on the knees, so it doesn't continue with that smooth look. And that's another bummer right there. The pins throw me off. And pins are fine for Iron Man, depending on the design. But when it's something smoothed out like this, yeah, you're supposed to go pinless here. I don't know why I love the freaking armored Astro Boy boots for Model 9 version 2. I've always loved it. And look at the sculpt underneath the boots. That's really cool. I like that a lot. And this is the body that they're most likely going to use for those classic retro X-Men arcade Sentinels. Speaking of which, let's do something fun right here. I'm going to pop this head, and then we're going to take a Prime Sentinel and pop it on here and see what that looks like to give us a little taste of what we might get. And oh, I see the vision. Oh, just picture the purple and magenta here, and you can definitely see the vision. For accessories, he comes with open hands, and they are introducing these new repulsor ray steaming effects, and that looks pretty damn cool. And he also has those thrust effects you could plug underneath the boots or the hands, as well as the steamy effects. If you want, you can attach it to his boots. For articulation, his head is on a disc hinge, so he looks about that far up and that far down. It moves left and right. His arms move about upward and outward that far, so straight T-pose. The pauldron doesn't really hinder any further range. It's all you're going to get with that arm. And I like that the pauldron does swing around with the arm. You get the biceps swivel and double jointed pinless elbows. That's all you're going to get. It's a good bend, especially for having that chunky armor. You got a wrist swivel, wrist hinge. However, no wrist hinge for the open hands. So if they are going to reuse this body for the arcade Sentinels, then they better have hinges on the open hands, because how the hell are they going to hold them rocks? You know what I mean? You gotta have some movement there. And then his torso, you get an ab crunch that moves that far forward, that far back. Waist swivel, legs kick out about that far. He kicks up really high, so you could get a good frontward split, especially with that leg moving that far back. Does rock around with the legs, thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and no coffee pot heel to the butt. But you get a boot swivel here. The ankles move up that far, they move down, and he does get some ankle pivoting, so it might hinder some of that ankle movement. But it's not that bad, actually, because in some wide stances, you can plant both his feet on the surface. It would have helped tremendously if he had a ankle swivel on top of that as well. That would have been super beneficial. I'm torn here because of how much I love this armor, and I do like messing around with it because, again, it feels good in hand, but visually, I can't get over by how cheap they made the red look, as if it were brushed down by some girly nail polish. It needed a dark metallic red paint job to match that tone of the comics. Even with the new accessory effects introduced, it's not enough to save it from a mediocre rating. Model 9 gets a 6.25 out of 10. Prepare for this one. I'm going to be extremely thorough here breaking this down, as I'll need the time to give clarification on this suit. So when I first saw this figure revealed, I thought it was a Model 20 because it looked like it at first glance, but then I realized it was incorrectly labeled. This is actually Model 24. While having some similar features, the two are completely different. Sometimes I can get my armors confused, but I know I'm right in what I'm about to say. Model 24's first appearance was Iron Man Volume 3, issue number 73 in 2003 that started the Pentagon story arc. Iron Man wore this suit when he was acting as the Secretary of Defense, aka the Pentagon armor. The Pentagon armor used to be Model 25, but when Marvel retconned the Hulkbuster from Model 14 back to 13 because it was only add-on pieces to the modular armor and they wouldn't count add-ons as added models, even though it looked completely different, it became a standalone armor and all subsequent numbers would then move down a number, making Model 25 now 24. There are two versions listed of the Pentagon armor, Model 24 Pentagon 1A and Model 25 Pentagon 1B. The problem that you'll find on Marvel wiki pages and such is that they don't tell you all the artist discrepancies that happened. That's why I read the damn comics to get the facts. Fuck those wiki pages. For example, this figure is going off the first Pentagon armor version that has the fins on the back from that cover art by Joe Jusko, and it stood consistent with that armor throughout that issue. Then the very next issue, Jorge Pereira Lucas did the cover art and penciled the pages, only having the look from the last one on the first page and later changing it on the very next page in the same issue. The next issue after that, number 75 and beyond, is when artist Adi Granov took over as cover artist, keeping the look from issue number 73, but removed the fins and added a red waistline over gold, but the rest of the artists in the pages, like Jorge Lucas, had different looks entirely, as he wouldn't even have the red thigh highs, a model that's not even documented in the Marvel Iron Man Armory list, something that should have been in between 24 and 25. It didn't become consistent in the pages matching Adi Granov's cover art until that Secretary of Defense story arc wrapped up and the Avengers Disassembled tie-in began in Iron Man issue number 86, with the only tweak being made was re-adding the gold at the waistline again. Point blank, any armor that appeared during that Secretary of Defense storyline is called the Pentagon armor, as it is tied to that specific story arc. Later that year, in 2004, Tony would inject himself with the serum to don the Extremis armor, making the Pentagon armor obsolete. So I just wanted to clarify this as I went back to spend the time reading those comics on my Marvel Unlimited app, so no one can tell me I'm wrong about this, as I provided you the facts right in front of your face here. Look, Marvel couldn't get their shit right with both Pentagon armors. When you look at the Model 24 and 25 armors they documented, 24 is supposed to have the fins, gold waistline, the line work on top of the shoes to match issue number 73. 25 doesn't have sharp knee pads, as it has line work going across, the same way it was featured in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game. Then again, so many artist discrepancies that they couldn't keep one definitive Pentagon armor, so there were different versions. In the end, Marvel was wrong for all those discrepancies. However, Hasbro was wrong for labeling this figure as Model 20 when it is indeed 24. This is an updated figure from the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Series 8 based off the Pentagon armor dubbed as Modern Iron Man, which also came with a comic featuring Adi Granov's art. So let's take a closer look at how Hasbro did with this new update. Alright, Pentagon armor, let's go. Yo, between Extremis and the Pentagon armor, those were my favorite Iron Man armors of the mid-2000s. They just look tough, and this Pentagon armor is just tough looking. I always loved the helmet. It looks so intimidating with that faceplate, you know, all those like sharp angles. It just makes it look tough. You got that triangular piece right there at the top forehead. I just love the helmet design. Line work going across the neck, on the back. You know, get this nice exoskeletal spine. It should be red all the way going down at the bottom right here. But they didn't do that. Should have been all red, so they messed up there. But the fins look nice, even though in the comics the fins were a lot thicker. But these are nice, I gotta say. I like them. They are a little bit pliable here, just so that when you're articulating the figure, it doesn't hinder it completely. But yeah, when they remove the fins, it's so weird how Marvel works, because as I mentioned earlier, they removed the Hulkbuster from a model because it was just add-on pieces, so they don't count add-on pieces as a new model, but yet you remove pieces and they'll count it as a new model, like Model 24 and Model 25. Does that make sense? Marvel doesn't even make sense, bro. Oh, whatever. Anyways, I like the chest here. It's a beautiful sculpt. And I like the arc reactor here. You'll hear me call this arc reactor power node like it was in the comics, so you know what I mean. Like the yellow glow to it. And then the shoulder pauldrons right there, they do adjust, so that is nice. I like that a lot. Just love the Pentagon armor, man. Especially I was a big fan of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game, the first one and the second one. But the first one, he donned this Pentagon armor and it just takes me back. I love this sculpt. However, I will say I'm not a fan with how they designed the torso here, because he's got the ball rocker upper torso and the hard waistline swivel. And the problem with that is this upper piece can't swivel at all. It just springs back. So it feels like this upper torso, the design is off-centered. It doesn't match these little square patterns they have here. It just looks off-centered. They should have done a ball jointed waist. This was the perfect design to do a ball jointed waist, so I don't get why they do this, especially when you twist it off to the side. You're gonna have his waist sticking out like that. And I just feel like every Iron Man figure should have a ball jointed waistline. You see his belt right there, got the discs on the side. Yeah, this is some heavy duty sculpting right here. You got the gloves, get some paint right there on the hands, like the armored plating here. So this is nice. And oh, by the way, these gloves are removable, so you can pop them out. Well, this one is not really cooperating with me for some reason, but the other one does for some reason. This one pops off, as you can see. So yeah, just wanted to show you that. And the swirling is not as prominent as the other two Iron Mans that I showed you. As you can see, it's still there, but nowhere near as bad as those other Iron Mans. And that beautiful heavy sculpting continues throughout. As you can see, lots of line work, segmented lines on the legs that turns into like squares in the front. I like the armored thigh highs right there. You can see the gold. I like the breakups here. It's nice. And then you get some gold underneath these sharp knee pads with some line work. And this is what I'm talking about. Pins make sense here. There's a pin right there. It makes sense for his armor because of the design. On the arms, though, they're double jointed pinless. So, God, this design is so sick. I love the Pentagon armor. One of my favorite default Iron Man armors. And yeah, the shoes right there. See, the line work is beautiful. All this matches up to how he appeared in that issue number 73, volume 3. So Hasbro, for the most part, nailed this armor completely. Like I said, they just missed the red paint on the back, but for the most part, everything else is spot on, in my opinion. For accessories, he's got the open hands, and for blast effects, the problem with the blast effects here, normally there's that little blast radius that cusps around this effect, but it's not present. So when you plug it in, the peg is just gonna stick out like that, and it sticks out a lot, and it just doesn't look good. But if you have the other blast effects that has that blast radius around it, then I recommend using those instead of this. I think they just left that out to keep costs down in this wave. To cover articulation, his head is on a disc hinge and he looks further up. I love the disc hinge. I'm a fan of that. Always get the best range looking up and down, as you can see. And then left, right. The neck does have that ball joint at the bottom, so I do like that a lot. I love that combo with the disc hinge because now you can pivot him like so and get some more range out of him. The arms move about that far upward and out, as you can see, and swing them around. The shoulder pauldrons are connected to this arm. They are removable, by the way. And one of my favorite things about this figure, butterfly joints on Iron Man. Bro, we haven't seen this since, what, the Toy Biz days? And I think they only did it on like 1 or 2 Iron Man maybe. Not all of them. And it's just great to see a butterfly joint on an Iron Man figure. So you can bring it that far forward and that far back. So the pauldron actually, surprisingly, does not interfere with that. As you can see, the stopping point is right there at the fin. Even if the fins weren't here, it wouldn't hinder the range, because that's the max you're gonna get out of that. But I love that. You got the bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, good range there, and you got some wrist swivel and a wrist hinge action. The diaphragm joint, like I said, I'm disappointed in because you can't swivel it. The most you could do is pivot side to side. It doesn't even move forward. Like, that's all you're gonna get, just a tad bit. That's not even some. And then moving back, it's all you're gonna get too. It's not that much. And even the fins, as pliable as they are, it's not even hindering it. So yeah, that's all you're gonna get. It rocks around, but you know, you could find ways to make it work, like make them like twist this part and then pivot it over to make them get like that sideways crunch. You're just gonna have to work around it, you know. You got the waist swivel right there. His legs do spread that far apart, almost a full split. Then his legs kick up that high, real high, and that far back. You got his legs that rock around. You got the thigh swivel, double jointed knees, no heel to the Pentagon butt. And then you got the ankles that move up that far down. The ankle guard doesn't really hinder it either, so that's nice. It does swivel a bit. See, why did they give this one swivel but not the neoclassic Model 9 one? And then the pivoting is not that great. I mean, you'll get some. It's not terrible either, but this is what I'm talking about. You can use the swivel to its advantage. So unlike the neoclassic, you can work with the dynamic here. My love for this armor has been translated into this figure, and I couldn't be happier. The heavy, intricate sculpting, color combo, and most of the articulation makes up for any shortcomings the figure may have. The only thing missing, I feel, is having an alternate head without the faceplate to expose Stark's face underneath the helmet. There's just so much to love about the Pentagon armor. Model 24 scores a 9.25 out of 10 rating. Let's kick off comparisons. Here is the Model 1 Gray next to the Model 1 version 2 Gold. Here is Model 1 Gold next to Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp to assemble the first ever Avengers team. It would be great to get some Jack Kirby versions of Thor and Hulk. I don't have the Neo armor Model 9 version 1 from the Superheroes Retro Wave because I'll wait for an update on that. But I have him here next to two of my other favorite armors from the 80s, and that's Stealth Armor and the Silver Centurion. Lastly, here is Model 24 Pentagon armor next to the Model 29 Extremis. And now to wrap things up, I think all of these Iron Mans are great choices to have in his own respective wave. However, they didn't have to fill half the wave with Iron Mans like they did in the last Spider-Man Retro Wave, with that also being half Spider-Man suits. Pentagon was the only one worthy here to stand as the anchor in the wave. The other two fell flat and short, and I would rather have waited on a better release some other way with better paint if possible. But I guess in an Iron Man wave, it makes more sense to have more of his suits in it due to the Hall of Armor building, and that's where I get suckered in. I love expanding the armory as it's one of my dream displays that I get to showcase on my shelves. To me, all of these armors are important to have in a Hall of Armor display, and despite some of my gripes, these figures inject that good old nostalgia into my veins. Model 1 Gold for that first ever Avengers comic team, Model 9 Neoclassic with those Mega Man boots. I feel like they should have somehow given us swappable forearms and boots to have both versions of Model 9. I know Hasbro loves reuses, so they'll want to use this for 6-inch arcade Sentinels. Pentagon I love for so many reasons. Out of the suits we don't have yet, it's the armor I wanted most besides a classic modular Hulkbuster. All these suits play a pivotal part in different eras for Tony Stark, so it's nice to see them updated. Even if it's not the best, it will fit and look uniformed with all other current armors from Hasbro in the collection. Now I kick it back to you. What do you think of these Iron Man figures? Which one is your favorite armor out of these? And what is the next default red and gold Iron Man armor would you like to see next? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for watching another Marvel Legends review. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xmanny87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next review. Peace, peace.